What's up, y'all? How's everybody doing? Hope you guys are doing good. So, I've had a long day today. I went to go visit my grandma. She's not doing too well. It's that situation where it's like, she may not be around next time I have time to see her, if that makes sense, She's not doing good. So, I've just had a crazy day. I had to drive like an hour and a half away to go visit her, and then like drive another hour and a half back here. But it was a good day, just busy. So I think I'm going to read the Law of One right now, and then I'm probably going to make that meditation video later on. I wanted to make it tomorrow, but I've been cramming too much stuff lately, and I've been I've been trying to run like a tight schedule, and it's just ending up in like stressing me out, which, if there's any way to eliminate stress, you always want to do that. So I'll probably end up doing that tonight. We'll see. There are some days where, I don't know if you guys will understand, where I feel kind of like, my vibration isn't as high as I want it to be to make these videos. But each time I say screw it and I just do it, because the answers are always inside me, I always end up, being happy. So I'll probably make that tonight. We'll see. I will admit I am kind of nervous because, like I told you, there's an echo in here, so I'm going to open the door. So I don't know if that makes a difference. Someone one time was complaining, leaving comments saying, there's an echo, and I don't like listening to that. So I don't know if I want to listen to your videos, so it's like my bad. So fix that. But I don't know. It's kind of like, I'm going into a weird place. Okay, this is a good way to put it. It's almost like, welcome into the mind of Jake, as I go through my meditation process. And so it's a little different. So I'm kind of nervous. I don't know why. I'm just like, it's going to be an interesting video, but I think it's a video a lot of people would benefit from. So it doesn't matter how weird it is. If it's going to help you guys, I'm going to do it. So looking forward to that. But okay, let's get into it. So I tried listening into the last video to see where I ended off. I think I know where I ended off. So, okay, we'll start from here. So, questioner, I would very much like to continue investigation into the possibility of this healing process, but I'm a little lost as to where to begin. Can you tell me where my first step would be? I cannot tell you what to ask. I may suggest that you consider the somewhat complex information just given and thus discover several avenues of inquiry. There is one, health, as you call it, in your polarized environment, but there are several significantly various distortions of types of mind-body-spirit complexes. Each type must pursue its own learn/teaching in this area. Would you say then that the first step would be to find an individual with ability brought with him into this incarnation? Is this correct? And Ra says this is correct. Once I have selected an individual to perform the healing, it would be helpful to receive instruction from you. Is this possible? This is possible given the distortions of vibratory sound complexes. I am assuming then that the selected individual will be one who is very much in harmony with the Law of One. Even though he may not have any intellectual understanding of it, he should be living the Law of One. This is both correct and incorrect. The first case, that being correctness, would apply to one such as a questioner himself who has the distortions towards healing, as you call it. The incorrectness which shall be observed is the healing of those whose activities in your space-time illusion do not reflect the Law of One, but whose ability has found its pathway to intelligent infinity regardless of the plane of existence from which this distortion is found. I'm a little confused. I partially understand you, but I'm not sure that I fully understand you. Can you restate this in another way? I could restate this in many ways. Given this instrument's knowledge of your vibratory sound complexes, I will strive for a shorter distortion at this time. Two kinds there are who can heal. Those such as yourself who, having the innate distortion towards a knowledge giving of the Law of One, can heal but do not. And those who, having the same knowledge but showing no significant distortions towards the Law of One, in a mind, body, or spirit yet, and nevertheless have opened a channel to the same ability. The point of being that there are those who, without proper training, shall we say, nevertheless heal. It is a further item of interest that those whose life does not equal their work may find some difficulty in absorbing the energy of intelligent infinity, and thus become quite distorted in such a way as to cause disharmony in themselves and others, and perhaps even find it necessary to seize the healing activity. Therefore, those of the first type, those who seek to serve and are willing to be trained in thought, word, and action, are those who will be able to comfortably maintain the distortion towards service in the area of healing. Then would it be possible for you to train us in healing awareness? It is possible. Will you train us? We will. I have no idea how long this would take. Is it possible for you to give a synopsis of the program of training required? I have no knowledge of what questions to ask at this point. We consider your request for information, for as you noted, there are a significant number of vibratory sound complexes which can be used in sequence to train the healer. The synopsis is a very appropriate entry that you might understand what is involved. Firstly, the mind must be known to itself. This is perhaps the most demanding part of healing work. So let me say that again. Firstly, the mind must be known to itself. This is perhaps the most demanding part of healing work. If the mind knows itself, then the most important aspect of healing has occurred. Consciousness is the microcosm of the law of one. The second part has to do with the disciplines of the body complexes. In the streamings reaching your planet at this time, these understandings and disciplines have to do with the balance between love and wisdom in the use of the body and its natural functions. The third area is the spiritual, and in this area, the first two disciplines are connected through the attainment of contact with intelligent infinity. I believe I have a little idea of the accomplishment of the first step. Can you elaborate a little bit on the other two steps, which I am not at all familiar with? So, imagine the body. Imagine the more dense aspect of the body. Proceed therefrom to the very finest knowledge of energy pathways which revolve and cause the body to be energized. Understand that all natural functions of the body have all aspects from dense to fine and can be transmuted to what you may call sacramental. This is a brief investigation of the second area. To speak to the third, if you will, imagine the function of the magnet. The magnet has two poles. One reaches up, the other goes down. The function of the spirit is to integrate the upreaching yearning of the mind-body energy with the downpouring and streaming of infinite intelligence. This is a brief explication of the third area. Then would this training program involve specific things to do, specific instructions, and exercises? We are not at this time incarnate among your peoples, thus we can guide and attempt to specify, but we cannot by example show. This is a handicap. However, there should indeed be fairly specific exercises of mind, body, and spirit during the teach-learning process we offer. It is to be once more iterated that healing is but one distortion of the law of one. To reach an undistorted understanding of that law, it is necessary to heal or to show any manifestation, but only to exercise the discipline of understanding. We would ask that one or two more questions be the ending of this session. Okay, I thought I was going to talk about what the person needs to do, but I can read this. My objective is primarily to discover more of the law of one, and it would be very helpful to discover the techniques of healing. I'm aware of your problem with respect to free will. Can you state the law of one and the laws of healing to me? The law of one, though beyond the limitation of name, as you call vibratory sound complexes, may be approximated by stating that all things are one, that there is no polarity, no right or wrong, no disharmony, but only identity. All is one, and that one is love, light, light, love, the infinite creator. So that's really cool. One of the primal distortions of the law of one is that of healing. Healing occurs when a mind-body-spirit complex realizes deep within itself the law of one, that is, that there is no disharmony, no imperfection, that all is complete and whole and perfect. Thus, the intelligent infinity within this mind-body-spirit complex reforms the illusion of mind, body, or spirit to a form congruent with the law of one. The healer acts as energizer or catalyst for this completely individual process. One item which may be of interest is that a healer asking to learn must take the distortion understood as responsibility for that asked/receiving. This is an honor or duty which must be carefully considered in free will before the asking. I assume that we should continue tomorrow. Your assumption is correct unless you feel a certain question is necessary. This instrument is nurtured by approximately this length of work. And then it talks about the person, so that I'm just going to skip. Okay, so next session. The last time that we communicated, we were speaking of the learning of healing. It is my impression from what you gave to us in the earlier session that it is necessary to first purify the self by certain disciplines and exercises, which is what I'm always telling you guys. If you guys want to open up to the multidimensional stuff, so if you want to use the words from this book and say the intelligent infinity, you got to discipline and exercise and work on yourself. You got to open yourself up. You got to realize that you are one with that pure vibration. So make yourself pure to go up and connect to that vibration. Then in order to heal a patient, it is necessary by example and possibly certain exercises to create the mental configuration in the patient that allows him to heal himself. Am I correct? Although your learn understanding distortion is essentially correct, your choice of vibratory sound complex is not entirely as accurate as this language allows. It is not by example that the healer does the working. The working exists in and of itself. The healer is only the catalyst, much as this instrument has the catalysis necessary to provide the channel for our words. Yet by example or exercise of any kind can take no thought for this working. The healing working is congruent in that it is a form of channeling some distortion of the intelligent infinity. Hence why I always say everyone is a channeler. Everyone's always channeling. If you want an example, he's even saying, the healing work is channeling the intelligent infinity. There you go. We have decided to accept, if offered, the honor/duty of learning and teaching the healing process. I would ask as to the first step which we should accomplish in becoming effective healers. We shall begin with the first of the 3 teaching/learnings. We begin with the mental learn teaching necessary for contact with intelligent infinity. The prerequisite of mental work is the ability to retain silence of self at a steady state when required by the self. The mind must be open like a door. The key is silence. So, meditation in another way, if you want to look at it like that. Within the door lies but I'm not talking about that you can go do meditation. It's that you can get in that meditative mode in your mind when you have to, if that makes sense. Within the door lies a hierarchical construction you may liken unto geography and in some ways geometry, for the hierarchy is quite regular, bearing inner relationships. To begin to master the concept of mental disciplines, it is necessary to examine the self. The polarity of your dimension must be internalized. Where you find patience within your mind, you must consciously find the corresponding impatience and vice versa. Each thought a being has in turn an antithesis. The disciplines of the mind involve, first of all, identifying both those things of which you approve and those things of which you disapprove within yourself, and then balancing each and every positive and negative charge with its equal. The mind contains all things, therefore you must discover this completeness within yourself. The second mental discipline is acceptance of the completeness within your consciousness. It is not for a being of polarity in the physical consciousness to pick up and choose among attributes, thus building the rules that cause blockages and confusions in the already distorted mind complex. Each acceptance smooths part of the many distortions that the faculty you call judgment engenders. The third discipline of the mind is a repetition of the first, but with a gaze outward toward the fellow entities that it meets. In each entity there exists completeness. Thus, the ability to understand each balance is necessary. When you view patience, you are responsible for mirroring in your mental understandings, patience/impatience. When you view impatience, it is necessary for your mental configuration of understanding to be impatience/patience. We use this as a simple example. Most configurations of mind have many facets, and understanding of either self-polarities or what you would call other self-polarities can and must be understood as subtle work. The next step is the acceptance of the other self-polarities, which mirrors the second step. These are the first four steps of learning mental disciplines. The fifth step involves observing the geographical and geometrical relationships and ratios of the mind, the other mind, the mass mind, and the infinite mind. The second area of learn/teaching is the study or understanding of the body complexes. It is necessary to know your body well. This is a matter of using the mind to examine how the feelings, the biases, what you would call the emotions, affect various portions of the body complex. It shall be necessary to both understand the bodily polarity and to accept them, repeating in a chemical physical manifestation the work you have done upon the mind, bethinking the consciousness. The body is a creature of the mind's creation. It has its biases. The biological bias must be first completely understood and then the opposite bias allowed to find full expression and understanding. Again, the process of acceptance of the body as a balanced as well as polarized individual may then be accomplished. It is then the task to extend this understanding to the bodies of the other selves whom you will meet. The simplest example of this is the understanding that each biological male is female, each biological female is male. This is a simple example. However, in almost every case wherein you are attempting the understanding of the body of self or other self, you will again find that the most subtle discernment is necessary in order to fully grasp the polarity complexes involved. At this time, we would suggest closing the description until the next time of work so that we may devote time to the third area commensurate with its importance. We can answer a query if it is a short one before we leave this instrument. And then it just talks about if the person's comfortable. Okay, session 6. We would like to continue the material from yesterday. This is well with us. We proceed now with the third part of the teach/learning concerning the development of the energy powers of healing. The third area is a spiritual complex which embodies the fields of force and consciousness, which are the least distorted of your mind-body-spirit complex. The exploration and balancing of the spirit complex is indeed the longest and most subtle part of your learned teaching. We have considered the mind as a tree. The mind controls the body. With the mind single-pointed, balanced, and aware, the body comfortable in whatever biases and distortions make it appropriately balanced for that instrument. The instrument is then ready to proceed with the greater work. That is the work of wind and fire. So this is starting to get into like some alchemy stuff, some metaphorical stuff, which I really love, and I recommend you guys think very metaphorically, because we compartmentalize, we think too much, we think too, I don't want to say too deep, but with all this spiritual stuff, what I've learned is the more broad you think, the more general and the more simple you make whatever you're trying to understand, the easier it's going to be, but that's just me. So that is the work of wind and fire. The spiritual body energy field is a pathway or channel. I love doing that. When body and mind are receptive and open, and then the spirit can become a functioning shuttle or communicator from the entity's individual energy/will upwards, and from the streamings of the creative fire and wind downwards. The healing ability, like all other, what this instrument will call paranormal abilities, is affected by the opening of a pathway or shuttle into intelligent infinity. There are many upon your plane who have a random hole or gateway in their spirit energy field, sometimes created by the ingestion of chemicals such as what this instrument will call LSD, so some acid, who are able randomly and without control to tap into energy sources. They may or may not be entities who wish to serve. The purpose of carefully and consciously opening this channel is to serve in a more dependable way, in a more commonplace or usual way, as seen by the distortion complex of the healer. To others, there may appear to be miracles. To the one who has carefully opened the door to intelligent infinity, this is ordinary. This is commonplace. This is as it should be, which I feel that's basically how a lot of light workers just see it like that. Like what we experience that's reality. It should be like that, you know? Everyone should know how things are and feel that completeness within, and then so there's really no worries, and everyone heals and loves each other, you know, because you just get it, you know. So I understand that. The life experience becomes somewhat transformed. The great work goes on. At this time, we feel these exercises suffice for your beginning. We will, at a future time, when you feel you have accomplished that which is set before you, begin to guide you into a more precise understanding of the functions and uses of this gateway in the experience of healing. I think this might be an appropriate time to include a little more background on yourself, possibly information having to do with where you came from prior to your involvement with planet Earth, if this is possible. Okay, so this is going to get into like who they are, who their collective is, their density, you know, all that kind of stuff. Spilled a little bit of water there. My bad. Okay. I am, with the social memory complex of which I am a part, one of those who voyaged outward from another planet within your own solar system, as this entity will call it. The planetary influence that you call Venus. We are a race old in your measures. When we were at the sixth dimension of our physical beings, hold on, make sure I'm saying this right. When we were at the sixth dimension, our physical beings were what you would call golden. We were tall and somewhat delicate. Our physical body complex covering, which you call the integument, had a golden luster. This is weird because, like I told you guys, before I even knew about these books, I got that image, I got that visual in the dream where a golden light was talking to me, telling me I need to read these books. And the golden light said they were Ra. So this is kind of freaky. I mean, not freaky, but it's really cool how I saw a golden light. I had absolutely no idea what was in these books. Something told me to read them. And now I'm reading here, and it's saying, you know, that they have like that golden resemblance with the golden light. So it's interesting. It's very interesting. Okay, in this form we decided to come among your peoples. Your peoples at that time were much unlike us in physical appearance, as you might call it. We thus did not mix well with the population and were obviously other than they. Thus our visit was relatively short, for we found ourselves in the hypocritical position of being acclaimed as other than your other selves. This was the time during which we built the structures in which you show interest. And I just got a weird image in my head. I don't know if it's them, so I'm going to think about this, but I got a really weird image. How did you journey from Venus to this planet? We used thought. Would it have been possible to have taken one of the people of this planet at that time and placed him on Venus? Of course not. Come on. Would he have survived? Were conditions on Venus hospitable? The third density conditions are not hospitable to the life forms of your peoples. The fifth and sixth dimensions of that planetary sphere are quite conducive to growing, learning, and teaching. How were you able to make the transition from Venus? Did you have to change your dimension to walk upon the Earth? You will remember the exercise of the wind. The dissolution into nothingness is the dissolution into unity, for there is no nothingness. From the sixth dimension, we are capable of manipulating by thought the intelligent infinity present in each particle of light or distorted light, so that we were able to clothe ourselves in a replica visible in the third density of our mind, body, spirit complexes in the sixth density. We were allowed this experiment by the council which guards this planet. Where is the council located? This council is located in the octave or eighth dimension of the planet Saturn, taking its place in an area which you understand in third dimension terms as the rings. And remember that video I told you guys. After reading this book, I tried to connect to a council of Saturn, and I'm not saying that I connected to the eighth density. I don't know if that's possible, but I connected to a council and I literally got shoved out. Like, I was in my meditation mode, and out of nowhere I kind of was just like that, like something literally pushed me out, and then something told me to like not mess with it. So that was very interesting. Okay, question. Are there any people such as you find on Earth on any other of the planets in our solar system? So are there humans in other planets? Ra, do you request space-time present information or space-time continuum information? Both. Okay, so this will be interesting. At one time/space in what is your past, there was a population of third-density beings upon a planet which dwelt within your solar system. There are various names by which this planet has been named. The vibratory sound complex most usually used by your peoples is Maldek, so the Maldekians. These entities destroying their planetary sphere. So if you guys have heard from channelers about the Maldek saying that their planet was destroyed, this is confirming it right here. Okay, so these entities destroying their planetary sphere thus were forced to find room for themselves upon this third density, which is the only one in your solar system at their time/space present, which was hospitable and capable of offering the lessons necessary to decrease their mind-body-spirit distortions with respect to the law of one. How did they come here? They came through the process of harvest and were incarnated through the processes of incarnation from your higher spheres within this density. How long ago did this happen? So where are we, about a half hour? I'm having difficulty communicating with this instrument. We must deepen her state. This occurred approximately 500,000 of your years ago. Is all of the Earth's human population then originally from Maldek? Ra, this is a new line of questioning and deserves a place of its own. The ones who were harvested to your sphere from the sphere known before its dissolution as other names, but to your peoples as Maldek, incarnated many within your Earth's surface rather than upon it. The population of your planet contains many various groups harvested from other second dimension and cycled third dimension spheres. You are not all one race or background of beginning. The experience you share is unique to this time-space continuum. I think that it would be appropriate to discover how the law of one acts in this transfer of beings to our planet and the action of harvest. The law of one states simply that all things are one, that all beings are one. There are certain behaviors and thought forms consonant with the understanding and practice of this law. Those who, finishing a cycle of experience, demonstrate grades of distortion of that understanding of thought and action will be separated by their own choice into the vibratory distortion most comfortable to their mind-body-spirit complexes. This process is guarded or watched by those nurturing beings who, being very close to the law of one in their distortions, nevertheless move towards active service. So this is kind of explaining, ascension in a way. Thus, the illusion is created of light, or more properly, but less understandably, light and love. This is in varying degrees of intensity. The spirit complex of each harvested entity moves along the line of light until the light grows too glaring, at which time the entity stops. This entity may have barely reached third density or may be very, very close to the ending of the third density light love distortion vibratory complex. Nevertheless, those who fall within this octave of intensifying light or love then experience a major cycle during which there are opportunities for the discovery of the distortions which are inherent in each entity, and therefore the lessening of these distortions. What is the length in our years of one of these cycles? One major cycle is approximately 25,000 of your years. There are 3 cycles of this nature during which those who have progressed may be harvested at the end of 3 major cycles. That is approximately between 75 and 76,000 of your years. All are harvested regardless of their progress, for during that time, the planet itself has moved through the useful part of that dimension and begins to cease being useful for the lower levels of vibration within that density. So once it kind of, I know I'm just summarizing here, but it's like once the planet and the people are done with that energy, it's kind of like there's really nothing left to create and learn in that environment. So it's time to move to the next environment. What is the position of this planet with respect to the progression of cycles at this time? This sphere is at this time in 4th dimensional vibration. Its material is quite confused due to the society memory complexes embedded in its consciousness. It has not made an easy transition to the vibrations which beckon. Therefore, it will be fetched with some inconvenience. Is this inconvenience imminent within a few years? This inconvenience or disharmonious vibratory complex has begun several of your years in your past. It shall continue unabated for a period of approximately 30 of your years. And this was made in 1981, I believe. So, 30 years have passed. Okay. After this period of 30 years, I am assuming that this will be a 4th density planet. Is this correct? This is so. And let me say this. Even though it's been more than 30 years and people themselves haven't, ascended to the 4th dimension, 2012, from what I believe personally, is when the planet started going into the 4D energies and people started awakening. Like I started awakening in 2012. That's what started it for me. It was the energies on the earth basically got me to activate, just like thousands or millions of other people. And 1981, and you add 30 years, you're pretty damn close to 2012. So I can see that, I can see it. Okay. Is it possible to estimate what % of the present population will inhabit the 4th density planets? The harvesting is not yet, thus estimation is meaningless. Does the fact that we are in this transition period now have anything to do with the reason that you have made your information available to the population? We have walked among your people. We remember sorrow. We have seen much. We have searched for an instrument of the proper parameters of distortion in mind-body-spirit complex and supporting an understanding of mind-body-spirit complexes to accept this information with minimal distortion and maximal desire to serve for some of your years. The answer, in short, is yes. However, we wish you to know, that in our memory we thank you. Let me make sure I didn't skip a page. Okay. The disc-shaped craft that we call UFOs, some have said to have come from the planet Venus. Would any of these be your craft? We have used crystals for many purposes. The craft of which you speak have not been used by us in your time-space present memory complex. However, we have used crystals in the bell-shaped craft in the past of your illusion. How many years in your past did you use the bell-shaped craft to come to Earth? We visited your peoples 18,000 of your years ago and did not land. Again, 11,000 years ago. Photographs of bell-shaped craft and reports of contact of such from Venus exist from less than 30 years ago. Do you have any knowledge of these reports? We have knowledge of oneness with these forays of your time-space present. We are no longer of Venus. However, there are thought forms created among your peoples from our time of walking among you. The memory and thought forms created, therefore, are a part of your society memory complex. This mass consciousness, as you may call it, creates the experience once more for those who request such experience. The present Venus population is no longer 6 density. Do any of the UFOs presently reported at this time come from other planets, or do you have this knowledge? I am one of the members of the Confederation of Planets in the service of the Infinite Creator. There are approximately 53 civilizations, comprising approximately 500 planetary consciousness complexes in this confederation. This confederation contains those from your own planet who have attained dimensions beyond your third. It contains planetary entities within your solar system, and it contains planetary entities from other galaxies. It is a true confederation in that its members are not alike, but allied in service according to the law of one. Okay, so how am I doing? Do any of them come here at this time in spacecraft in the past, say, 30 years? We must state that this information is unimportant. If you will understand this, we feel that the information may be acceptably offered. The law of one is what we are here to express. However, we will speak upon this subject. Each planetary entity which wishes to appear within your third dimension of space/time distortion requests permission to break quarantine. So remember this. They have to request permission to break quarantine, as you may call it, and appear to your people. So beings aren't going to be able to come and just mess with you. You know, they have to have permission. I mean, as messed up as this world, with our third dimension view, with our third dimension people, you know, so like our other selves, you would say, basically, you know, as messed up as it is, on the outside, it's very, very, it's a smart system, because beings can't just say, oh, we're going to come in and we're going to, you know, destroy the planet or hurt your people. It's like, no, we're actually protected. So it's like we're protected from the outside, you know what I'm saying? Not the inside. But I mean, that, I get that. It makes sense. So, where was I? Okay. The reason and purpose for this appearance is understood and either accepted or rejected. There have been as many as 15 of the Confederation entities in your skies at one time. The others are available to you through thought. So that's why in meditation and whatever, if you want to connect to them, you can. At present, there are 7 which are operating with craft in your density. Their purposes are very simple: to allow those entities of your planet to become aware of infinity, which is often best expressed to the uninformed as the mysterious or the unknown. The Twilight Zone. I am fully aware that you are primarily interested in disseminating information concerning the law of one. However, it is my judgment, and I could be wrong, that in order to disseminate this material, it will be necessary to include questions such as the one I have just asked. If this is not the objective, then I could limit my questions to the application of the law of one. But I understand that at this time it is the objective to widely disseminate this material. Is this correct? This perception is only slightly distorted in your understanding learning. We wish you to proceed as you deem proper. That is your place. We, in giving this information, find our distortion of understanding of our purpose to be that not only of the offering of information, but the weighting of it according to our distorted perceptions of its relative importance. Thus, you will find our statements at times to be those which imply that a question is unimportant. This is due to our perception that the given question is unimportant. Nevertheless, unless the question contains the potential for answer giving, which may infringe upon free will, we offer our answers. Thank you very much. We do not want to overtire the instrument. So then it talks about the lady. Where am I? All right, I'm going to read off one more page because this is, it's heavy information. I want to make this as easy as possible. So even though it might take longer, it might take more videos, I think I'm going to try to go 40 minutes at like the very most for the majority of these because, I want things to be simple. So even though I only read off like 11 pages, it still took 40 minutes, which is ridiculous. I must read much faster. You know what I'm saying? That's weird. To me, it doesn't seem like that's a good time ratio. 40 minutes for 10 pages. That seems kind of ridiculous. Like, I can speak faster, but this is stuff where you don't want to go too fast and miss information because this is very, very detailed. So I will read one more page and then I will stop. So session 7. So we did 7 sessions in 2 videos. So, okay. Okay, you mentioned that there were a number of members of the Confederation of Planets. What avenues of service or types of service are available to the members of the Confederation? I am assuming that you intend the service which we of the Confederation can offer rather than the service which is available to our use. The service available for our offering to those who call us is equivalent to the square of the distortion/need of that calling divided by or integrated with the basic law of one in its distortion indicating the free will of those who are not aware of the unity of creation. Question. From this, I am assuming that the difficulty that you have in contacting this planet at this time is a mixture of people here, some being aware of the unity and some not, and for this reason you cannot come openly or give proof of your contact. Is this correct? As we just repeated through this instrument, we must integrate all of the portions of your social memory complex in its illusory disintegration form. Then the product of this can be seen as the limit of our ability to serve. We are fortunate that the law of service squares the desires of those who call. Otherwise, we would have no beingness in this time/space at this present continuum of the illusion. In short, you are basically correct. The thought of not being able is not a part of our basic thought form complex towards your peoples, but rather it is a maximal consideration of what is possible. By squared, do you mean that if 10 people call, you can count... Hold on. Let me read this. By squared, do you mean that if 10 people call, you can count that when comparing it to the planetary ratio as 100 people, squaring 10 and getting 100? This is incorrect. The square is sequential. 1, 2, 3, 4, each squared by the next number. If only 10 entities on Earth required your services, how would you compute their calling by using the square method? We would square 110 sequential times, raising the number to the 10th square. What would be the result of this calculation? The result is difficult to transmit. It is 1012 approximately. The entities who call are sometimes not totally unified in their calling, and thus the squaring slightly less. Thus, there is a statistical loss over a period of call. However, perhaps you may see by this statistically corrected information the squaring mechanism. About how many entities at present on planet Earth are calling for your services? I am called personally by 352,000. The Confederation in its entire spectrum of entity complexes is called by 632 million of your mind, body, spirit complexes. These numbers have been simplified. Can you tell me what the result of the application of the law of squares is to those figures? And this is the last thing I'll read. The number is approximately meaningless in the infinite sense as there are many, many digits. It, however, constitutes a great calling which we of all creation feel and hear as if our own entities were distorted towards a great and overwhelming sorrow. It demands our service. At what point would this calling be great enough for you to come openly among the people on Earth? How many entities on Earth would have to call the Confederation? So, until they show up, how many of us really have to be aware? We do not calculate the possibility of coming among your peoples by the numbers of calling, but by a consensus among an entire social memory complex, which has become aware of the infinite consciousness of all things. This has been possible among your peoples only in isolated instances. So that is interesting. It's not by the people, by the number of the people, but as our human group consciousness accepts the infinite potentials, that's when ascension is going to happen. That's when this is really going to happen. When the majority of people understand this, and as a group, we energetically and consciously, without having to talk about it, are on the same terms. So it's very, very interesting. It's very important to look at. So that was 45 minutes. Wow, that went by in like 10 minutes. That felt really fast. So I hope that was enjoyable to some of you guys. I'm going to stop there. So we probably are... we're close to halfway there. We're close to halfway done. But part of that is because this book started on page like 65. So there's 65 pages that I skipped. So, but the other books, they go from page 1. It just starts with the reading. So you're not going to have any of this, the pictures and all this intro. You're not going to have it in the other Law of One books. So I won't have to go through all those. But I think I'm going to do that meditation video. I'm not sure. I'm going to try to. Again, I'm just nervous. So I think I'm just going to try to do it. And then if I don't like it, either just put it up and deal with it or think of another way to go about it. It's something new to me, I've grounded myself into knowing how I go about my channeling with you guys. But I've never opened up when I'm kind of all over to you guys. So this is going to be interesting, but I think it's going to be very beneficial. So I really want you guys to meditate. I really want you guys to connect. I really want you guys to get to where I'm at. There's no reason why you can't, and some of you are, you just don't realize it. So that is why I want to do this. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you have a good night. If I don't see you guys later on tonight, much love and light to you guys. Thank you for listening, and I'll be back soon. So, all right, y'all. Peace. Take care. Blessings.